Good morning, Pastor Sam. It is really my honor and privilege able to interview you and hear more about your story. First of all, would you like to share a little bit about your background yourself?
Yes, good morning, PK, and good morning, everyone that's listening. So, my parents are first generation migrants from South Korea, and I was born in Bellflower, California in the 80s. So, basically, my spiritual journey, in a sense, started before I was even born because my parents were both believers. My sophomore year, my mom made the decision to move back to South Korea, and so a totally different journey happened. It's like a reverse migration happened for me. And from there, I graduated from international school. And after that, I ended up joining the Air Force. And I did that for 4 years. And I eventually too was the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. When I was there, I majored in education and a psychology minor. And I did civil service work for 3 years in Honolulu after I graduated from my master's program. And from there, I had a special assignment to Tokyo for 6 months. And while I was there, I got to go to all of the military installations, go to the US Embassy, and get to see what's going on and work as a benefits counselor for service members. And as I was doing that, I was counseling people and I was counseling even chaplains. And the reason I say that is because in my deepest part of my heart, I still enjoyed doing ministry for free, whether it was leading small groups, being part of small groups, being part of the faith community, evangelizing. That's always been my heart. I've always enjoyed it, and so I just knew that this was my calling. And so I did my full-time seminary. I was been on this journey that led me to Vineyard of Harvest.
Really appreciate what you just shared with us. Um, Sounds like that you have a very diverse background and have a lot of exposure. So with this rich background, would you like to share with us something as a Asian Americans entering into a mainstream community? What kind of feeling that you have? What kind of challenge that you have gone through?
The Air Force, especially, it's still like 70% dominated white male. And within like even the chaplaincy, it's reflective of that as well. So I am a minority among minorities as Asian American there. And racism is everywhere. The military is just a reflection of what is American society. So we always have to look, there's always going to be a few bad apples, as we call them, but that's just part of the reality and the way this country was made. But we have to always remember we can be the change. We can be the ones who have dialogue. We can be the ones who have relationships with people that can break those barriers. But ultimately, the barrier breaker is the cross. When people truly understand their identity in God, then we can all become brothers and sisters.
Now, later on, you work at a chaplain, and now you still actively enlist as part of this military personnel to help people.
Mhm.
Do you have feel any inferiority or any uneasy feeling when you're dealing with those people who are non-Asian Americans?
Mm. So there always is there can be like this sense of doubt sometimes, like because I'm an officer, they have to automatically respect my authority. But there is that, but I can't operate in fear. And I have to operate in the authority that I believe not only God has given me, but the Air Force has given me. And if I can think and work that way, of course, like I said, there are gonna be people that are gonna reject me. And it's not because they reject me because of what I look like, but because they reject the cross. They reject the faith, spirituality, because there are gonna be atheists and agnostics and all such kinds of people out there. So I think part of being what I do, spiritual care, rejection is part of the job description, I'd say. And it's unavoidable. And honestly, in life, not everyone's gonna like you. Not everyone's gonna like us, right? No matter what we do, they're just not gonna like us for whatever reason. So I think we kind of have to accept some things and let go of what we cannot control. You're just gonna operate in faith and in your best interest.
Well, this is really a great advice. As a parents, we all have our children encounter so-called prejudice or discrimination or even being bullied in school. Would you like to share with our parents how to help our children to face this kind of challenge?
Absolutely. So one of the big things I think that helps is at least my parents. They help me to first know my heritage, know my history, who I am, where am I from, know my language. So I can speak Korean fluently. I can read and write it. And then also the parent and child relationship. There has to be trust and there has to be love. If there's that doesn't exist right now, the foundation already is not there to succeed in the world. Once there's like those kinds of the foundation is laid for the child in their life, um, that is so fundamental first off, and obviously the faith foundation. Faith foundation is because God is always going to be that resource. So we always got to first look at the very basic things: mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and obviously emotional is related to relational health. Once those are really solid, they have a good safety net, they got a good network. I believe any of those challenges they're going to face in school, in work, wherever they go, they're going to be okay. They may have a dip sometimes, but there's always a place to catch them so they don't hit rock bottom.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. That's why we really want to stress the importance of a family and also a biblical foundation to build up this home. Would you like to also share something directly with our younger generation?
Yeah. So as a minority, as Asian American, you got to know your history. You really do. You have to know what the cost is that it is to be an Asian American here in the United States, and just really knowing your story is so big, because if you don't know your story, you will become totally lost in terms of who your identity is if you don't know who you are and where you're from. Because if you know that, you kind of know where you're going to go in the future. And so again, Asian American identity is one thing, but your faith identity is another, and you have to put those together, right? And not, I mean, of course your faith identity is going to be the greater one. Personally, that's what I think, because if anyone asks me, who are you, I'd say I'm a child of God. If you are solid with your relationship with God, I feel like everything else makes sense. But at least in this time, in this place, in this world where you are, I mean, you as an Asian American, don't have to live into the model minority myth of, we are all somehow perfect and rich, because that's not true. Just try to be the best version of yourself each day.
Well, from what you just shared, it sounds like that you have a lot of resources that are able to help our young people, and furthermore, able to help our parents to understand the background or the world that our children are living in. Would you like to tell us how can you help our parents as well as our younger generation in a practical way?
Yeah. Well, if you don't mind, parents, I'd like to give you a piece of advice. And even though I'm not a parent, I think the big thing, listening maybe to your children more, seeing where they are, and having conversations with them as opposed to just telling them maybe what to do. Maybe your relationship is good already. Maybe you are a great listener. And the idea is you're a caretaker, you're shepherding your child, right? And they are not yours, they're God's. If you think of it that way, they're God's first. I think that's going to change the way you parent. And as far as resources go, I mean, depending what age group you are, I would definitely strongly suggest that you find either obviously small groups or discipleship opportunities as you can. I'm discipling college age to young adult men right now, and also trying to coordinate small groups and such, and try to just develop community, because the thing is, faith cannot be done alone. Faith is meant to be a journey together.
Well, thank you very much, Pastor Sam. A lot of insights and also your personal experience.
Thank you, PK, for this platform.